Hello and welcome to the Virtual College Fair presented by Colleges That Change Lives. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your cameras and microphones are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening. Be sure to sign up for additional ones where you signed up for this one. And this presentation is being recorded. It'll be available again within about a week at the same website where you registered. That's all the housekeeping stuff I have, so I will step out of the way and turn it over to our presenters from Eckerd College.
Great, thank you so much, Russ, and thank you for all of you joining. Let me go ahead and share our screen very quickly. So my name is Jacob Brown, and I'm the Director of Admission here at Eckerd College, and I have a fellow panelist. I'll have her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Jenny Connor, and I'm an admission counselor at Eckerd.
Great. So as I said, really thank you for joining us. For the 45 minutes, we're going to go through a lot of the different unique features of Eckerd College, the differentiators. And certainly as we continue through, maybe Jenny while I'm talking, and then if you can take a look at the Q&A, make sure that we're answering any questions, and I'll do the same when you're talking. And really that's all to say, we encourage you to ask lots of questions. We wish we were doing this in person. This is our third Colleges That Change Lives event. So we really can't wait, hopefully, to see you really, really soon. So let's kick it off. Today, we're going to be talking about a number of, like I said, differentiators. First and foremost, our autumn term program, which is part of our 414 academic calendar. Research opportunities, particularly because we are only an undergraduate institution. Our location in sunny St. Petersburg, right on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Study abroad opportunities, campus life, outcomes, and what some of our alums are doing, as well as the application process. So let's start off with talking about autumn term. One of the important things to keep in mind when looking at the makeup of Eckerd is our geographic reach. And so this map sort of breaks out where our students are coming from. 80% of our students are coming from outside of the state of Florida, which is quite different for a smaller college. We've got about 1,970 students. 47 different states are represented in our student body, and about 41 other countries. One of the most interesting factoids, however, is the fact that on average, our students are traveling 1,000 miles from home. And that's quite different than most college-bound students. In the United States, on average, students are traveling between 200 and 250 miles from home to go to their college or university. And so Eckerd students are doing 4 to 5 times that distance commitment. So you can start to make some generalizations that Eckerd students tend to be a little bit more adventurous. They're certainly comfortable being a plane ride away. Most of the students are. And most of the students are also the only one from their high school coming to Eckerd. So out of a first-year class of about 525 first-year students, they will represent about 480 to 490 different high schools. And so I think students looking at Eckerd are really looking for the next chapter, next journey. And they're not necessarily like many of their friends in high school going to the college around the corner or the large flagship college or university within their state. They really want something a little bit different. We have students join us as part of a unique academic calendar. And so Eckerd is part of a 414 academic calendar. You might be used to colleges and universities, very much like high schools, being on a quarter system or trimester or semester. So 414 is just another iteration of that. And it relates to the number of classes a student will take in their academic years. So 4 courses in the fall, 4 courses in the spring, that's where the 2 4s come from. And then every year, you as an Eckerd student are going to take 1 course for 3 weeks, sort of like a mini term. Sophomore, junior, and senior year, that mini term happens in the month of January. And that's where we offer winter term. And Jenny's going to talk a little bit more about winter term as we get to that part of the presentation, because that's how we do a lot of our study abroad. Instead of 414 in your first year, however, it looks more like 144. And so our new students, or first year students, come in 3 weeks before our upper class students for a short term called autumn term. Now, It is August in Florida for autumn term. It does not feel like autumn. It doesn't even feel like autumn right now in Florida. It might where you are, but that's the name of it. Autumn term really kicks off your, as I mentioned, Eckerd experience. And so you're able to start to build community. You're starting to really acclimate yourself to the campus, to St. Petersburg, but also to the academic expectations of college level work. And I think no matter where you go for college, no matter how great your high school was in preparing you, most of the students, if not all students, when they get to college, are going to have at some point in time a transition, an obstacle with time management. You spend much less time in class in college, believe it or not, than you do in high school. The expectation, however, is that you are preparing a lot. So typically for every hour of class, and usually you only spend about 3 hours in class per course of the semester, you're preparing 2 to 3 times that number. So if it's a 3-hour course, 3-hour per week course, then you're preparing 6 to 9 hours in that week. So this is our way for also you to transition into the academic expectations. After the 3 weeks, you've got an established GPA. Hopefully it's a good one. I'm sure it will be. This is a typical schedule for autumn term. So as I mentioned, 3 hours a day, you're going to be in class. And then obviously you'll have lunch, we try to feed you. Then you'll be working on a community building event. We do a portfolio so that you can start to reflect on some of the co-curricular experiences, which we'll touch on in a moment. And then of course, every day, you're gonna have time allotted to prepare for class the next day. The courses themselves that you take during autumn term are not major specific. The courses are not sort of courses like navigating your first year. Instead, they're looking at a particular question or problem or issue for those 3 weeks. And so instead of saying, well, I'm interested in psych, let me take Psych 101, we're going to offer a slate of about 26 different courses that you would typically not find in a college catalog. We're going to ask you out of those 25 or 26 courses to choose 6 that interest you, and we'll place you in one of your interests. So instead of what typically happens when you go to college is someone will say to you, what is it that you want to major in? Okay, then let's place you in some of those courses. We're not doing that at the beginning. You might have an intended major. We're all aware that most students will switch their major at least once. Technically, every student comes into Eckerd undecided, but instead of looking at a particular major and what it is that you might take for your first course, instead looking at the descriptions and trying to figure out what's compelling for you, what sounds interesting, what sounds cool, maybe something that you've never even taken before. There's lots of high school students who have not taken an anthropology course, so how do you know you don't like it? So those are some of the courses. As I mentioned, we have co-curricular programming as well. Some of them are fun, like our Kontiki raft race, which is a campus tradition. Some of them are educational as being part of the Eckerd experience and the college experience, like healthy expectations and what every major should know about money. I should probably say that most of them are fun and educational, hopefully. Now that we've covered autumn term and your beginning experience at the college, let's move into the overall general academic program at Eckerd. First and foremost, and I imagine most of you who are on this presentation right now understand the liberal arts and sciences, since you are participating in a virtual event hosted by Colleges That Change Lives. But I think it'll just go without saying, the liberal arts and sciences is not meant to prepare you for a particular job. And so Eckerd College is certainly a liberal arts and science institution. That's not to say that when you leave, you don't know how to work. Our belief is that we are preparing you for a lifetime of skills, because most of you, once you get to college, will end up working in jobs that have not even been created yet. I think it was March when we first, learned about contact tracers, right? Who would have thought that that was a job? But there are lots of people doing that right now. Just the same as when I went to college, there's no such thing as social media managers or web app developers, right? So how could a college prepare you for jobs that have not yet been created? Instead, our goal is to really help you develop those soft skills, the ability to think creatively, to think critically as well, the ability to communicate effectively in your written work and oral presentation skills, the ability to work in teams. And in fact, in a recent survey, 93% of employers asked said that those were the skills that were more important than a student's particular major. That's what they wanted to see out of potential employees. Getting back into, now that I'm off my liberal arts and sciences sort of commercial, getting back into Eckerd and Eckerd's academic experience, the other piece that's really important for us is mentoring. And so remember back in that 3-week course, the autumn term course, you were placed in one of the 26 courses, you and the same 20 or 22 students are taking that course together. It's taught by a faculty mentor. That faculty mentor will be with you for those 3 weeks, be working alongside of you, watching in your transition. They don't go away at the end of autumn term. In fact, that cohort stays together for a foundation course that we call Human Experience. All of our students take Human Experience. It's offered both in the fall and the spring. And that also means that you and the 20 or 22 students and the faculty mentor are meeting pretty regularly throughout the fall and spring semesters of your first year. As I mentioned before, all of our students technically come in undecided. However, by March of your first year, you're able to start to declare your major. You can wait 2 years to declare a major, but if you declare your major, that's when you'll be assigned a mentor within that field of study or within that discipline. And so the mentor within your major will help introduce you to research opportunities, study abroad opportunities, introduce you to a greater network of Eckerd alums who have been in that major, because of course, that mentor has probably mentored other students before you. And so for us, one of the most important relationships that can be established is between you, the student, and your faculty mentor. And that's really important for us because, as I mentioned before, we're only an undergraduate institution. Here's a list of academic areas of study. So we've got 42 different majors and programs. The majors, or the programs, are the subjects with asterisks or minors only. And so many of our students will take a minor. Some of our most popular majors, certainly marine science is our flagship program. That's what we're very well known for, but also environmental studies, animal studies, which is relatively new, but certainly increasing in popularity. International relations and global affairs and psychology typically round out the top 5 majors and programs. You will see a few programs with numbers in front of them. And so something like our 3-2 engineering program, that's a dual degree program. So 3 years at Eckerd and then 2 years at either Washington University in St. Louis or Columbia University in New York City. And then at the end of 5 years, you come out with 2 degrees, a bachelor's degree from Eckerd and then an engineering degree from one of those 2 institutions. I believe both have an additional 1-year option to get a master's degree then. Similarly, our 3-3 law program is connected with Florida State University in Tallahassee. So 3 years at Eckerd and then 3 years at FSU. And in 6 years, instead of the typical 7, you come out with a bachelor's degree and a law degree. One of our other programs, which is one of our newest programs, is this 2-2 theater or musical theater program. We offer a Bachelor of Fine Arts as well as a Bachelor of Arts in Theater. So if you wanted to do a Bachelor of Arts in Theater, you would be at Eckerd for all 4 years. However, if you wanted a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater or musical theater, you could spend your first 2 years at Eckerd and then 2 years at Circle in the Square Theater School, which is the only theater school housed in a Broadway theater. So the school itself is actually underneath the stage of Circle in the Square. And so they're right in Broadway, right on Times Square. So a question came in about marine biology. That's a great question. So our marine science program, and this is how it's very, very different than a lot of other colleges, breaks down into 4 different concentrations. So marine bio is one of those concentrations, typically is the most popular one. But then we also offer courses and concentrations in marine chemistry, marine geosciences, and marine geophysics. And so our marine science program is not just bio courses with some marine courses. It's going very deeply into certainly marine bio, but a lot of other areas of study within the marine science umbrella. And so you can look at our marine science website and see the tracks. All of our marine science students will start off with a foundation course, 2 courses I should mention, biological oceanography and geological oceanography, which will introduce you to those 4 areas of study. And you don't have to know which concentration you're interested in. Someone asked about the asterisks. Those are minors only. Hopefully that's helpful. For those of you who might not necessarily be interested in natural sciences or who only know Eckerd for marine science, rest assured, that's not the only thing we do. In fact, about 38% of our students are studying the social sciences. So those are things like animal studies or psychology. And then about a third of our students are doing the natural sciences, marine science, physics, chemistry, bio, and then 10% each in arts and communication and business and management, about 8% in the humanities. For those students who are undecided, fear not. So I put this little graph here to help you understand that at Eckerd, because we're a smaller institution, there's fluidity. So if you look at the outer rings, they have different majors and different degree programs. And then you'll notice there are some arrows that go from one area to another ring. And so this is the outer rings are what students came in as an intended major. So about maybe a quarter of the students came in and said, you know what, I'm just undecided. And then we have a big group of students who say, oh, I'm interested in marine science. This is what they said they're interested in. The arrows then move to what they declare as their discipline during that March of their first year. So you'll see a number of them stay undecided. They don't move anywhere. Some of the undecideds will move to marine science. Some of the marine science students will move to environmental studies. And so you'll see a lot of this fluidity. And this is just sort of a graphic to help you understand that just because you come in with one idea of what it is you want to study, that does not lock you in. And you can still graduate in 4 years. We'll talk about this a little later on, but I think it's important to know that students who come in, who continuously take courses, 93% of them will graduate in 4 years' time. So if you switch your major once or 3 times like I did in college, you can still graduate in 4 years. As I mentioned, Eckerd is only an undergraduate institution. And I think universities are great, right? Universities tend to have different colleges broken into a larger university. They also tend to have graduate students. And so without graduate students, without having those students pursuing a master's or a PhD, you as an undergraduate, you as a student pursuing your bachelor's can have complete access to faculty members. So for instance, these students are working right in a lab within our newer, I think it's about 7 years old now, so I should probably stop calling it new, but newer, James Center for Molecular and Life Sciences. And so that entire building is outfitted with all labs. And because we're only an undergraduate institution, it is available only for you as an undergraduate student. That also means that you can do research alongside faculty members. In fact, about 2/3, about 66% of our students will have done some sort of professional work before they graduated. That could be being published. That could be going to a professional conference or putting on a juried art show. And so this student's working with Dr. Loren, who's one of our psychology and animal studies professors, and they're doing canine creativity and cognition. I should probably get my dog, Hannah, to see if she can figure out the multiplication or division signs. As I mentioned, mentors are not just in the classroom, right? They're not just seeing you in the class, they're having conversations with you outside of the classroom. So that mentor relationship is really important. And when I talk about research, it's not just in the sciences or social science, natural sciences or social sciences. You're going to work alongside faculty members like Art Skinner, who's in our visual arts department. In fact, even newer than our James Center is our Nielsen Center for Visual Arts. And that has semi-private studios for seniors, because one of the requirements for our seniors in visual arts is to do their own critiqued art show. That center has also really expanded our digital art areas, including our film. We have a studio and a number of film courses and faculty now. Should also mention that the proof is in the pudding, right? It's not just me saying that our students are doing good things. In fact, Eckerd students are winning Rhodes scholarships, Goldwater, Fulbright, National Science Foundation scholarships. And for those of you who are interested in marine science, it's important to note that NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, offers Holling scholarships. These are 2-year scholarships for undergraduate research in marine life or oceanography. And Eckerd students have received 95 Holling scholarships to date since the program started in 2005. That's more than the number. 95 is more than students at any other college or university. So Eckerd students are beating out for the Holling Scholarship, students at Duke or University of Miami or University of California, Santa Cruz or San Diego. And so I think that's just important to keep in mind because it's an outside agency saying the work that our students are doing alongside faculty members, because they can get the mentoring and they can work together with faculty members, warrants them some additional research opportunities. So I should also mention that we're part of a Peace Corps prep program. So this is our certificate program. It's not direct entry into the Peace Corps, but this is sort of a great program for those students who might be interested in joining the Peace Corps upon graduation. And in fact, we're the 5th school in Florida to have a Peace Corps prep program, and we're one of the top producers of Peace Corps alums with among small colleges within the United States. And then some of you may or may not be familiar with Phi Beta Kappa. Phi Beta Kappa is the nation's oldest and most prestigious honor society. So it was founded in 1776 at the College of William and Mary. Only about 10% of colleges on universities have a Phi Beta Kappa chapter. And Eckerd is one of the smallest and youngest institutions to have that. We like to think of it as sort of the good housekeeping seal of approval on our academic program. But if you graduate as Phi Beta Kappa, you'll be joining the ranks of secretaries of state and presidents and leading scholars. So we're very, very proud to have a Phi Beta Kappa chapter. I'm going to finally stop talking and let Jenny talk a little bit, where she will talk to you about our location and study abroad and student life. But before that, let's see, housing specifically for the honors program. So I'm going to hold that, I'm going to back burner that for a minute. And Jenny, once we get to talking about residence options, maybe
I can cover that then.
Great.
Yeah. Well, Jake's going to let me talk about one of our favorite things, where our students call home. So we're located in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is just outside of Tampa, probably about 4 hours north of Miami and about 2.5 hours west of Orlando, as you can see from this map we have here. So we're on the Gulf Coast. St. Pete is a great city, and our students definitely take advantage of everything it has to offer. Jake, you want to go to the next slide?
You might have to tell me to advance when it's
Yes,
time.
I will. So of course, we've got a great outdoor location in St. Petersburg with some of the top beaches in the country, as well as we have on average 361 days of sunshine a year. So we're called the Sunshine City. In addition to that, there's a lot to do outside of going to the beach. So for example, we have several different professional sports teams, such as the Tampa Bay Rowdies, as you'll see here, Tampa Bay Rays, the Buccaneers, lots of music venues and other theater venues too for events and things like that happening around the Tampa Bay area.
Good sports teams too, right?
Yes, the Rays are doing very well right now.
Rays are in the World Series. The Lightning won the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, the Lightning too. Yes, I forgot about them already.
The Bucks have Tom Brady and Gronk.
I was just about to say, Tom Brady is a new resident in the Tampa Bay area. So that's always exciting. Beyond that, if you want to go to the next one, Eckerd students really do take advantage of St. Pete. So this picture here is from the Saturday morning market, which is a year-long farmers market that you can often find Eckerd students, staff and faculty enjoying and supporting small local businesses and things like that, as well as just enjoying downtown St. Petersburg. You want to keep on going. But like I said, we are a part of the Tampa Bay community. So a great advantage for our students is not only do they get to explore St. Pete, is they can take advantage of outside the classroom experiences in several different locations. So St. Pete, of course, but also in Tampa, Clearwater, Sarasota, all within about a 45-minute drive. So lots of internship opportunities and things that they can do outside the classroom to enhance their learning. So at places like Franklin Templeton or Raymond James, or even doing maybe an internship at one of those professional sports areas, things like that. So they can really, enhance their time with us. Now that we've talked about St. Pete, we'll talk about our students going elsewhere across the globe. So Eckerd is #2 in the nation for short-term study abroad. Jake mentioned that a little bit earlier when talking about our winter term program. So just about 70% of our students will study abroad at least once multiple times. As you can see from this map, they go all across the globe, from South America, Africa, all across Europe, Asia, Australia. Really, the world is their oyster and they can go anywhere they want, essentially. We'll show you a few pictures from their time abroad. So we've got students who are doing trips to the Caribbean. A lot of these are our marine science-based trips. To the Bimini Shark Lab in the Bahamas is a popular one. But we also have some more traditional study abroad trips as well. So like I mentioned, during winter term, they're traveling for 3 weeks as a class with a faculty member. But you can also do a more traditional immersive experience and do a full semester abroad if you would like. Eckerd owns our own facility in London, where you will go and spend a full semester in the city doing all kinds of different things, but also enjoying the theater scene in London and traveling with an Eckerd professor and living in our facilities. That's a great option too, because all of the financial aid and scholarship transfers. So essentially you're just paying your tuition like you normally would, but you are in Europe. So that's great. If you don't want to go abroad for a semester or even a winter term, we do have some trips that students can take advantage of during spring break. So as you might have noticed from our pictures and things like that, Eckerd students go to school at the beach. They're at the beach pretty much every day, in between class, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of them will take advantage of their spring break to do other things, like student-led spring break trips. So this picture is from one of the trips the students planned to do some trail maintenance on the Appalachian Trail in the Smoky Mountains. Or they have also gone to Peru and built a school locally there, things like that. These trips are all designed by students and led with students and faculty members, so they have a lot of say in where they're going and things they're doing. But it's pretty cool that they decide to use their spring break not to lay on the beach, but to kind of give back and do that kind of stuff.
Before we move on, Jenny, we just have one
questions
about the 3 weeks. Is that what we mean by short-term study abroad? And maybe if you can even direct the folks watching as to where they can see the winter term or short-term trips that were last year, because I think January 2021 is going to look a little bit different.
Yeah. Yes.
So
the 3 weeks abroad is what I meant by short term. So during that winter term in January, if you go to Eckerd's website and to look for study abroad or winter term, you'll see some options of where we've been in the past. I know a couple of students that work in our office have gone to Thailand, Australia, lots of different places. Essentially, they're taking the topic of the course that they might be taking on campus, and they're going to the location that they're studying. So they're really getting to see up close and personal what they are learning about, which is really cool. So those trips, like I said, there are 3 weeks and you're traveling with other Eckerd professors and students and things like that. And they usually range in price, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, from about $1,000 to $6,000, just depending on the location you're going, cost of living in that place, and what all the trip is providing. So, but there's lots of grants and scholarships through the Education Office. So if you need that and want to take advantage of it, they're great at helping students make it a lot more affordable. All right. So now back to campus life. We have a beautiful 200 or almost 200 acre campus for our 1,900 students that live with us, and lots of Eckerd traditions and groups and things like that. If you want to go to the next slide, Jake. This is one of our students' favorite places, one of the most beautiful places on campus, South Beach, or on-campus beach. It's an Eckerd tradition for students to come down here in the evenings and watch the sunset over Boca Ciega Bay. If we were walking downtown South Beach right now, you might see students hanging out in hammocks, doing yoga, even studying, because the Wi-Fi does reach down there, which is really nice. But another Eckerd tradition that you'll see in that picture is that we are pet friendly. So that dog in the last picture, he lives on campus with his students in the residence hall, enjoys the dog park on campus, and at the end of their 4 years at Eckerd, he will have his own pet commencement ceremony, which is really fun and a unique tradition. So we don't not only have dogs, but cats, reptiles, fish, birds, all kinds of different animals. There's a student who works in our building who has a chameleon. So it's pretty unique in what kind of pets that we have on campus. So now we'll go forward and talk a little bit about our waterfront facilities. So this is not only a recreational area, but educational and service-oriented area. So at the waterfront, students who, after they complete a swim test during autumn term, can go down and with their student ID check out kayaks, paddle boards, sign up for sailing lessons. You can get scuba certified through the waterfront at reduced cost, which is great. It's much more cost effective than to do it on your own. All kinds of stuff. A lot of students will plan out their days to make sure that they can go down the waterfront, enjoy the water in between classes, things like that. But beyond that, it is also educational. So our marine science faculty also use the waterfront to launch their boats to take students out to do hands-on work and lab work on the water. So you're not just sitting in the classroom learning about marine specimens and things like that. Students are actually going to be out on the water observing and doing sample collections, things of that nature, taking their learning outside the classroom. The last aspect of the waterfront, I said, is service oriented. So we have two great groups on campus that are both helpful for students, but also our other community members, which are XR and ECERT. XR is the Eckerd College Search and Rescue Team, which is the only collegiate maritime emergency response team in the US. They're affiliated with the Coast Guard, and they serve not only the Eckerd community, but the local Boca Ciega Bay community. So as a student, if we went out and, I don't know, with the tide, couldn't get back in with our kayaks or maybe got injured or something like that, we can call XR and they would come and assist us. But they also do things like maybe towing in a boat that ran out of gas for a local community member, or even more serious calls and things like that. The land-based option of this on our campus is called ECERT, which is the Eckerd College Emergency Response Team. These are students who are trained in basic EMT and medical skills. So if we were walking around and I fell and twisted my ankle, you could call ECERT. They would come and evaluate me, decide if I just needed help back to my office, or some further medical skills such as wrapping my ankle, maybe transporting me to the hospital, or our campus health center, that kind of thing. So these are great experiences for students who are wanting to go into these fields like coastal management or emergency response, even the healthcare field. So they can, start working on these skills right now. But it also is a great advantage for keeping our community safe and making sure everybody is doing well on campus. Okay. Next. So this is an aerial shot of campus. Like I said, we have about 200 acres. On the screen, you'll see all of those turquoise circles are our residence halls. So we had a question earlier about residence halls for the honors program. The honors program at Eckerd is not separated into a different college like you might see at other schools. So there's not specific housing just for honors student. They are integrated completely into the rest of the college. On our campus, we have traditional hotel style residence halls with attached bathrooms. We have apartment style as well. And all of our residence halls are gender neutral because we have semi-private or private bathrooms in all of the buildings. So that means you either have an attached bathroom that is just for you and your roommates, or if it is a community bathroom that's down the hall, the only shared space is where the sinks and the mirrors are, where the toilet and the showers are is behind a full door that locks, much better than just a curtain. So you have a lot more privacy there, which is great. Okay. Beyond that, as you can imagine, because about 90% of our students live on campus for all 4 years, coming from all across the US and the world, they're very engaged in our community and they really make Eckerd their home for the 4 years that they're with us. So this is just a small sample of all of the clubs and organizations we have on campus. Some of the most popular being Scooby-Doo, one of our campus scuba clubs, as well as ECOS, the Eckerd College Organization of Students, is also very popular, but there's a new club every week. It's really easy to start a new club if there's not something within your niche on this list or offered on campus. They like to say you just need to have a pen and a couple friends. You just have to fill out some paperwork and then you have your club on campus. So there's always a new event going on campus or some sort of activity and that sort of thing that are keeping students engaged. Beyond that, we also have some collegiate sports. So on Eckerd's campus, we are a Division II school, part of the Florida Sunshine State Conference with intercollegiate men and women's sports, as you can see here, including sailing, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, tennis, both indoor and beach volleyball, as well as softball. We also have some intramural sports and club sports as well. We have two pretty active club sports teams, both rugby and lacrosse, and rugby acts almost just like the intercollegiate sports team. They travel and they do competitions and things like that as well. So that's a really popular sport for our students to go and watch on Kappa Field every Saturday when they have matches and things like that. All right.
Thanks, Jenny. I'll take it over for this section. So for some of you watching, you've been mesmerized by the beach and the dogs and beautiful sunsets. But I think it's always important to remind you exactly what we were talking about at the beginning, about the academic excellence of Eckerd. And certainly as part of this series of events, we're a member of Colleges That Change Lives, and we've been featured in this book, which is now in its 4th edition. Loren Pope, one of the, he authored Colleges That Change Lives. He passed away before the 4th edition was out, so it was taken over and updated by Hilary Mantel Oswald. But Loren Pope really understood this idea of Eckerd, that it might seem like the perfect spot for an easy college career. Sun, surf, and sand. But if you're looking for a vacation, you should enroll elsewhere. So we always like to say that, the students who don't do well at Eckerd are the ones who only see us for the beach and the sand. We're only looking for spring break eternal. I think one of the really compelling aspects of an Eckerd student, beyond just their adventurous spirit and, living their authentic selves, is their ability to really study hard, be really committed to their academics, but to do it in a place that is, some may call it paradise. And so I think it's not for every student. I don't think it was necessarily for me. I didn't go to Eckerd. I don't know how successful I would have been. But I think, that's one of the testaments to Eckerd students and their ability to be in a really beautiful place and work really, really hard. Some other stats for you to keep in mind, as I mentioned, about 95%, 93, 95% of our students who started Eckerd who continuously take courses. So they don't take a leave of absence. They certainly could study abroad or double major or minor. They will graduate in 4 years' time. And so we're not talking about a bachelor's degree in 5 years or 6 years. We're talking about a 4-year program. And then 77% of our students, we do a 1-year out survey, are employed full-time or continuing their education, with about half of our students within 5 years going on to pursue a post-bac degree, so a master's degree or law degree or MD or something like that. Here are some of our alums. Someone like Joe Conrad, who is a marine science and history student. He's now working for the Smithsonian in 3D scanning. He was doing this before the pandemic, and I think it's probably been even more important now, where he's taking a lot of the collection of the Smithsonian and 3D scanning it for all the people who are interested in looking at the artifacts and their collection remotely. Brady O'Donnell, who graduated in 2015. He works for the Marine Science, the Marine Mammal Commission in DC. He was a marine science and environmental studies major and serves as a communication and policy analyst. Once he graduated from Eckerd, he went to UC Davis, where he worked under another Eckerd alum, Dr. Tessa Hill, who was named one of the nation's top young scientists by the Obama administration. Jenny also mentioned ECOS, or Eckerd College Organization of Students, and Brady was ECOS president for, I believe, 2 years, his junior and senior year. And so, Eckerd is certainly very student-centered, and our alums are doing some fantastic things. One research for all of you out there that you can do, not just for Eckerd, but for all colleges that you're looking at, is go to LinkedIn and look at the college or university webpage. You'll be able to type in majors, graduation years, even geographic regions, and see alums populate who might be doing something that in a major that you're interested in, or might be living close to your home. And so this is a good opportunity for you to learn more about what alums are doing and a greater alumni network. Another resource for you would be eckerd.edu/outcomes. That will take you right to our outcomes brochure, so you can learn more about different alums and see a number of different lists for placement in both graduate school and careers. I'm now going to volley it back to Jenny, and she will talk a little bit about the application process.
All right, let's jump right in. So if you want to go to the next one, Jake. So at Eckerd, we accept our own application you can find on our website, as well as a common application. We have a pretty standard application, and so you'll have to submit that, as well as transcripts, letter of recommendation. We prefer one from an academic source, so a teacher or guidance counselor, but you're welcome to provide multiple, maybe from a coach or an employer. And then we are going to be test optional, not only for this year, but next year. So if you We have two decision processes, both early action and rolling admission. For early action, the deadline for this will be to submit everything by November 15th, and then we will guarantee a decision will be in the mail to you no later than December 15th. And then for rolling admission, it usually takes about 4 weeks for a decision to be sent back once an application is complete. For all applicants, the application fee will be waived before December 1st. To give you an idea, the average applicant at Eckerd has a 3.45 unweighted GPA. We will add weight for AP, IB, or ACE coursework, rather. And if you choose to submit test scores, average test score is about a 26 ACT or 1200 SAT.
Jenny, do you want to answer the one question that came in? Does
I didn't see it.
Start after early action deadline?
You can do rolling right now if you would like to. Early action is non-binding, so it's up to you, but we just, the rolling decision doesn't have the same guarantee that it'll be in the mail by a certain date. So it's up to you. You can do either, and both, like I said, are free before December 1st.
And then someone asked if we have a minimum GPA requirement.
We do not. So we do holistic application review. Of course, your GPA is a very important factor, but we're also looking at curriculum, progress throughout your high school career, activities, things like that. The middle 50% of our students are usually between, I believe it's 3.1 and a 3.7 or 8. So we have about 25% of our students who are on either side of that spectrum, but there's no minimum cutoff. Okay. In addition to the application, your application to college serves as your application for merit scholarship or academic scholarship, rather. If you're admitted and eligible for academic scholarship, you will be notified with your application or your acceptance letter about what you're eligible for. So for first year students, that's going to range between $12,000 and $25,000 per year. For transfer students, it's going to range between $8,000 and $15,000 per year. In addition to that, we have 3 admitted student scholarships you can apply for. These have deadlines of February 1st, so another good reason to apply early action, or at least in the fall semester of your senior year, so you have plenty of time to work on those. So we've got the first year research associateship for students who want to do research with a faculty member during their time at Eckerd. Not the only way to do research, but a great way to get started right away. This year, I think we have about 10 different projects that are already on the website if you want to take a look. With the Artistic Achievement Award for students who want to be involved in the arts on campus. The sections in that are creative writing, visual art, music, theater, and now new this year is film. It's not listed here, but we also have a diversity and leadership scholarship as well. So for students who want to be involved in one of our diversity leadership programming groups on campus, as well as work closely with our diversity inclusion coordinator and help with those things on campus as well. In addition to that, of course, we take need-based aid through the FAFSA. 96% of our students are qualified for financial aid. With the average aid award, I believe it's increased since this, but it used to be just under $37,000 per year. So a lot of students are getting quite a bit of funding through the FAFSA, academic scholarships, as well as the Eckerd College grant, which is just additional funding provided by the college based on family financial need. The total cost of enrollment at Eckerd this year is $61,000, but as you can see by these stats, highly unlikely that any of you would be paying that amount, 96% paying much, much less than that. Looks like we have one more question. Portfolio and audition for Artistic Achievement Awards. So yes, you will have to submit a portfolio in any of those areas that you are applying, not an audition though. So it could, for some of those, obviously like theater, film, music, those are going to be video based probably. You do YouTube links, things like that, and then creative writing samples or pictures of your visual art, that kind of stuff. Okay. Other ways to engage with us, we have a lot of virtual content right now, obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, but also we are doing limited campus tours. If you would like to do that with a lot of safety measures in place, including temperature checks and things of that nature. But we will have one more virtual open house this year on November 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. If you'd like to register for that, you can visit our website, but you can also take a virtual guided tour, as well as sign up for a Connect with a Counselor with someone like myself. We can answer any of your questions and go over any other information you're hoping to learn about Eckerd.
Great. Well, thanks so much. We're coming to the end. Thank you all for participating, and certainly thanks, Jenny, for joining us. And as Jenny mentioned, you can always go to eckerd.edu/counselor to connect with your admission counselor and ask additional questions. I'll give it back to you, Russ.
Thank you very much. And thank you both Jacob and Jenny for sharing all that great information about Eckerd College today. And I want to thank all of you for joining us for this session. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is just one of many sessions being hosted. Be sure to sign up for additional ones where you registered for this one. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings, again, at the same place you signed up for this session. Once again, thank you to our presenters from Eckerd College today, and thank you all for joining us. Have a good rest of your Monday. Take care.